Okay, what is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and today I'm giving you guys a re-upload of my Flunderezze deck profile. Shout outs to everyone who kind of didn't tell me it was an hour long video, and I honestly did not know because I didn't think the upload was something that I should be concerned about. But yeah, oops, sorry about that. Um, so yeah, now we're gonna actually talk about the deck itself. And this was a deck that I did do a live stream for a few days ago. When I did upload the first video. Um I don't exactly know what the hell happened when I uploaded the last video, but I do apologize for that. So yeah, Flunderezze is another winged beast archetype. As you guys know, I tend to play many of those. And I was really enamored by it because it's an archetype that doesn't special summon. It does a ton of normal summons. Which with a lot of the cards that this archetype has, there's gonna be a lot of that going on. So yeah, and if you can't get a lot of stuff now, that's probably because it all jumped up in price before Burst of Destiny comes out into the TCG in October, late October, early November. So, with that said, I think it's only fair enough that I actually go through that profile itself. So, we're starting off with three copies of Flutterezze, Eaglin, three copies of Flutterezze X Robina, three copies of Flutterezze X Toucan, one copy of Flutterezze X Streech, one copy of Flutterezze X Snow, one copy of Flunderezze X Impin. Then one Ryza, the Mega Monarch, one Samorg, not Samorg, one Miss Valley Apex Avian, one copy of Barrier Shot Shield Stormwind, three copies of Dimensional Shifter, three copies of Ash Blossom Joy Spring. For the spells, three copies of Flunderezze in the Mysterious Map, one copy of Flunderezze in the Unknown Wind, three copies of Pot of Prosperity, three copies of Pot of Duality, one Terraforming, one Harpie Feather Duster, and one Call by the Grave. In addition to that, the trap cards are three copies of Flunderezze and the Scary Seas, and three copies of Infinity Impermanence. For the extra deck, two copies of Tri Brigade Farigite, the Burden Blossom. The Burden Blossom. One copy of Harpie Conductor. One copy of what is this card? Some more Bird of Sovereignty. One copy of Tri Brigade Shrig, the Ominous Omen. Two copies of Lureless Assembling Nightingale. Two copies of Kenkiga Geshi, Fucho. Two copies of what is this? Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, two copies of Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Labrie, and two copies of Divine Arsenal Double A Zeus Sky Thunder. So the deck itself, like I said, it's not intended to special summon, but if the chance came to be, you can easily take advantage of it during your turn, because there's a lot of things you can easily do during your opponent's turn in order to combat what they do. Now, let's actually talk about the Flunderezze themselves. I'm running three copies of basically the main engine of the deck. That's the three copies of Flunderezze Eaglin, three copies of Flunderezze Rabina, and three copies of Toucan. So, what Eaglin and Rabina are your searchers. Eaglin will get any winged beast that's level 7 or higher and add it from your deck to your hand, while Rabina is able to add any level 4 or lower winged beast monster from your deck to your hand. So basically, in combination, if you can normal summon one, you'll have the ability to normal summon the other, and then both will do searching. So even if one's effect got negated to search, you'll at least have the other one to follow up on, so that the other one can help search for any of the other pieces. Because it's really such a deck. Other than that, they have the ability, of course, to banish themselves. Oh no, I'm sorry. When they're banished, you can add them to your hand. If they're banished, you can add them to your hand. So it's a great way to just get your hand back in, stacking a lot of support. I'm gonna say Toucan. Toucan allows you to add any of your banished Flunderezze cards from your back to your hand. So this is a way to replenish those cards you can't get or you miss getting them due to the effects of another card. Um, Outside of these three being the only ones that I'm running multiples of in terms of the monsters, there's only one copy of Fritch, and that's simply just because you can target cards. And it's basically a bastardized DD Crow. And if that was ever the case, you can just run regular DD Crow in addition to it. It's just the fact that this is on a normal summon. And some things can easily dodge the graveyard. So, unless you find the ways to use some of the spells and traps to help you put this card onto the field a little easier. Stretch is probably the only one that I'd say, honestly, I wouldn't run multiples of. What I would potentially run multiples of are the big boys. We have Snow and Impin. So Impin has the ability to put stuff face down. Um, Sorry, not put stuff face down. I'm thinking of the wrong one. Impin has the ability to give the ability to half the attack and defense of a monster your opponent currently controls when you battle, as long as you have a tribute summoned monster, which is not hard because this monster itself is already tributed. The other thing about this monster is that it's one of two of the highest leveled and statted winged beast monsters in the Yu-Gi-Oh series, because there's not too many high statted winged beasts, especially not no level 10s in the main deck. Only in the extra deck has that ever been accomplished, and it's a very rare occasion because I think that belongs to Black Wings, and I think they have a level 12. The other level 10, of course, is Snow, who has the ability that if you control this tribute summon card, if your monster attacks an opponent's defense position monster, they can inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. And then he has the ability to banish a card from your hand to change all sorts of summon monsters your opponent controls face down. Now, while this seems like the more optimal effect, it's a good combination, of course, with Impin because Impin has the ability to allow piercing battle damage. I mean, he has the ability to have attack and defense, while Snow not only gives the piercing battle damage, but allows you to put stuff face down. So, yeah, that can be very resourceful. And because of how a lot of these cards are already operating with the banish mechanic, you're not losing out on too much. Like, legitimately, there's no way you can lose out on banish because a lot of your own monsters have the ability to bring themselves back to hand. With that said, Ryza, the Mega Monarch, makes a grand appearance in another Winged Beast deck that circulates around tributing. Um, the thing about Ryza, of course, is that it's gonna be just as easy to summon this and say something like, some work, where you can easily, summon this card and not have to worry about too much because majority of your targets are going to be wind. And if you do use wind to tribute summon this monster, you're going to get all of its additional effects. You can throw in multiples if you want it. You probably have to reduce some of the numbers of the other Flunderezze monsters in that. But Ryza, yeah, Ryza's going up because Ryza's going really good in combination with this. Of course, it's not a Winged Beast deck if we do not talk about the Mist Valley Apex Avian and the Barrier Statue. Of course, this holds on to the Samorg Lock. Which is funny because for a deck that doesn't have to special summon, how do you actually execute this? Well, remember, you're doing a lot of normal summonings thanks to a lot of your own monsters. So because they're both winged beasts, you get some additional normal summons. You got the additional normal summon of a monster that can make it to where you and your opponent are only able to summon wind. And then you have a giant negation in attachment to this giant bird. So it's not, like I said, it's not going to be too hard. It's kind of in agreement of what some work was doing, and just in forms of tributing instead of just special summoning left and right. They're gonna use normal summoning left and right. At the copies of the Dimensional Shifter, this is a really good answer to a lot of hand traps and dealing with a lot of those situations where you have some monsters that want to do some things while they're in the hand and forcing themselves into the grave. So definitely something you can do against those. Basically a walking macros Cosmos and D Fisher. If those are cards that you kind of just don't want to put into your main. The other is of course the Ash Blossom Joy Springs. Because no, why not have access to your own hand trap? Then we have the 3 copies of the Mysterious Map. This is basically just to help out Flunderezze get a lot of their support cards and get to the normal summoning as soon as possible. Because, like I said, a lot of your majority of what you're playing around with will be the level ones, and then the level ones are basically tribute fodder at that point once they hit the board. So this is a great way to help in addition to that because it'll give you the additional normal summons, and it also gives you the ability to search for your Flunderezze. Although you're gonna have to banish to get the chance to do the additional normal summon, it's perfectly worth it because you're basically can get a freebie to get someone else out of the deck and then immediately put them onto the board. So with that, we got the one copy of the Unknown Wind, and this is just to help with This is to help with hand correction, which can be an issue in a lot of decks. I was considering running Ring Requital because of the summoning. I mean, the setup for the summoning requirements, but I at least wanted to give myself something to try a lot of the new stuff. But if anything, I mean, if Ring Requital isn't, I mean, if Ring Requital becomes more of the usage, then you can definitely try to fit it in. But then we also have these little cards here, the Pots of Prosperity. Now, here is the thing, and I recommend this because of current situations. If you aren't able to afford Pot of Prosperities, there are many of draw cards that can support your deck. Because of this situation, I know it is because a lot of people, um, money is an option. Money is a situation. Uh, the only other cards I can honestly tell you is if the TCG gets Ring Requital soon, or swap out for Pot of Extravagance if that if that has to be the end all be all. Because Pot of Extravagance is more so of the, and I can't believe I'm saying this, it is more of the budget option, just due to the fact that this card itself, um, you're most likely to only use this because of the fact that you can still banish from your extra deck. Which, remember, this deck does nothing but normal summon, so you're literally just drawing two cards as opposed to excavating um, the cards themselves. The other option, of course, is that you're already maining it, Pot of Duality, which Pot itself works in a similar sense as Pot of Prosperity. The only thing is you're forced to normal summon after you use this card. So, excuse me. So, you're really only using both of the pot cards in this deck as just ways to get to your extenders without having to sacrifice so much. It being a so much is you're sacrificing special summon for a deck that does nothing with normal summon. The rare occasion that it does special summon is more focused in the extra deck. Outside of that, the additional spell card, as extensive as it is only really here to correct things that other cards could not correct, because I believe you can't draw out of that, but I do believe Pot of Duality is not drawing. It's more so of excavation into adding the card into your hand. So it's not drawing, which gets over this card's effect. Unlike cards like Upside Goblin, Pot of Extravagance, and stuff like that. So you got Terraforming to search for your field spell, Feather Duster to get rid of back row, and the Call by the Graves was something that a viewer at told me just to add for the space. Um, Literally because it can be a good out to some things that can currently be an issue. So yeah, definitely wanted to go ahead and add that. Three copies of the Flunderezze in the Scary Seas. This is a nasty card for your opponent if they are a deck that orients in special summoning nothing but monsters. Good counteracting to a lot of the decks currently in the game, both competitive and casual, because everyone just special summons out the ass. So with a card like this, it's going to help deal with that situation, with enforcing them to do nothing with moral summons, and then even at a point, most cards that you normal summon, excuse me, are extenders, are things that you need to help you. Well, most things that you're normal summon, if you force them into it, are unfortunately going to be things that are extenders or things to help with social summoning, and they're going to be locked out of that and only granted 3 additional normal summons or sets for the turn. So, yeah, those are a thing. And then the Infinity Impermanence is in case you do not want to run a Fact Veiler, which still Infinity Remains is still a very expensive trap because it does a lot of things including things that Baylor does, which is the ability to negate a monster's effects. While this card has this ability, you can also play it from your hand, like with a spell card. So, yeah, why not? Ooh, do apologize for the shiny. Um, In addition to that, the extra deck is going to be very short and simple. Every card in the extra deck is only here to literally fit in one cost because I'm running monsters that are of a certain level. These are an option to get to. These options only allow me to grant access to, of course, the double A Zeus Sky Thunder, which itself in case is a really expensive but great exceed monster. In the instance, if you can of all these monsters that have the ability to be exceed summon while using another monster and granted material that they have as new material, including the monster that you're putting this card on top of. This allows you to do so many multiple things. This is why Zeus, excuse me, is at the rarity that is because it is a really powerful exceed monster and it's a very useful exceed monster at that. So yeah, that is why it is there. And then of course we have all these winged beast and beast cards here to basically survive the whole getting into some Morgan Avian. And if not that, you at least have the edge of using cards like Shrek the Wicked Wing to banish stuff. I mean, it's not Shrek the Wicked Wing. Shirag the Ominous Omen. Sorry, they still have this teaching. I mean, it's us teaching English. It's you have, of course, the Border Solving team making its grand appearance because, you have this Apex Avian Barrier Statue combo to play around with. The lovely Harpie Dancer. And I know this is kind of weird, and a lot of people are going to ask, what does Harpie Dancer do besides being a Harpie? Funny enough, Harpie Dancer is only really here because she's going to be an extension to the deck. If anything, you can just swap out Harpie Dancer and put it in another card, or maybe just bump up your Exceed, or you bump up your Exceeds. Other than that, Fairy G is some draw power and some additional special summon. And then the cards at the bottom. These are cards that are options of things that you can add to your deck. Like I said, we talked about Power Extravagance. Twin Twister, which is funny because I can now honestly say this, Duster can be excessive in points. So Twin Twister and its massive amount of reprints can be very helpful. Swallow's Nest is the only thing that I would only recommend to you if you have already done enough with the normal summons, or basically want to swap into something different. Just to get over some other things, especially if you're playing cards like, I don't know, if you want to combine this deck with some more, and you line up some more in half. So you can swap out one bird for another bird and then put more birds onto the field. You also have the fact that some more plus cards like anti-social against literally does lock down your opponent. So although this archetype doesn't have any sevens, it's still an option with some work, and of course taking advantage of some work field spell Ebores, where it grants you additional normal summons, and then the fact that you can reduce the level of bleeding responses in your hand. So where they can be able to be such someone without such a hassle. And I mean, normal summon without such a hassle grants you more normal summons because this deck definitely enjoys this normal summon. We already talked about Ring Requital and Potter for Sharpness versus cards. And then, of course, there's Harpie Dancer. So, Harpie Dancer's ability to bounce back on a wind monster to give you an additional normal summon can be helpful as well. And that's also why I still wanted to recommend Harpie Conductor because it also grants you access to Harpie's Feather Storm. Being as that Conductor herself is a wind-winged beast, you can also take advantage of that in her placement on the board. You see what I'm getting? Yeah. So, with that said and done, really, that's basically all that needed to be said about the Flunderezze. So, oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry, guys. I want to get some definite rest. But with that said and done, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And also thank you for staying through all the damn yawns. I do apologize for the video, but I did have to re-upload it because, of course, time constraints sort of thing. But don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel as it helps me out tremendously. You can also follow me on social media. My social media links are in the description box below. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you guys can be informed of when I do upload more content. And catch me on Twitch at twitch.tv/HarpiePlayerJoe, where you guys can watch me do tons and tons of live streams. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all next time. HPJ, signing out. Take care.